Picture being able to really focus, push past distractions, and tap into your full potential. This audiobook shows you how a simple dopamine detox can reset your brain for unmatched productivity and concentration. Ready to shake off those distractions? Your journey begins now. You know the feeling. Your phone buzzes and suddenly you have to check it. You scroll through your feed just to see what's new, chasing that little rush from a new notification. It's addictive, isn't it? But here's the kicker. Every time you give in to these distractions, you're rewiring your brain. That quick burst of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical, tricks you into thinking this is what you need, the most important thing right now. Sure, it feels nice for a moment, but it's also stealing your ability to focus and do work that truly matters, the kind that brings real productivity and satisfaction. Dopamine is both helpful and harmful. It's what drives us to reach our goals, fuels our creativity, and brings us joy. But in our hyper-connected world, it's become a weapon we wield against ourselves. With every ping, like, and notification, we're trained to chase instant gratification, hopping from one distraction to another. The result? We feel scattered, unproductive, and overwhelmed by the endless tasks needing our attention. Let's talk about the dopamine trap. Each day we face a nonstop wave of distractions, phones, email dings, social media updates. They're all crafted to hit our dopamine buttons, giving us a quick thrill, no matter how short-lived. While this constant buzz might seem harmless, it's actually sabotaging our focus and deep work. Every time you check your phone or respond to a notification, you're giving your brain a little dopamine hit. It feels good, but those tiny distractions add up, making it tougher to concentrate on tasks requiring real focus. This cycle, this craving for more dopamine-fueled distractions, changes the game when it comes to doing deep work. And make no mistake, this isn't just a bad habit. It's a serious issue affecting every part of our lives. We're so wired to chase that instant gratification that we forget how to work without constant stimulation. We often bounce from one task to another, never really diving into the work that helps us grow. Instead of chasing long-term goals, we get caught in a cycle of instant dopamine hits, seeking quick thrills that fade fast. This constant distraction doesn't just take away our focus, it dampens our potential. When we can't concentrate deeply, we end up feeling busy but not truly productive. So, what can we do? The key is a dopamine detox, essentially a reset for your brain. It's not about cutting out dopamine completely, but rather about dialing back on those unnecessary distractions that steal our attention. A detox like this can help you break away from the nonstop interruptions that keep you craving quick rewards. By limiting those triggers that feed into those habits, you let your brain find its balance again and develop the ability for meaningful work. But how does this detox actually work? It's bigger than just quitting social media or cutting screen time. A genuine dopamine detox means being deliberate with your time. It's about choosing when and how you engage with activities that light up your dopamine. Finding the right mix of work, rest, and play is key. It also means embracing some boredom, giving your mind time to recharge. As you go through this detox, you'll notice big changes, sharper focus, better productivity, and that feeling of achievement that comes when you work without distractions pulling you away. By the end of this book, you'll gain the tools and strategies to escape the dopamine trap and enjoy the benefits of focused, deep work. Perfection isn't the goal. Consistency is what matters. It's about taking time to reset your brain and focus on the work that leads to real success. If you're ready to take back control of your attention and make strides on what truly matters, now is the time. Let's jump into this dopamine detox and start your journey toward productivity, fulfillment, and success. Chapter 1. Understanding. Dopamine in today's world is a big deal. Distractions are everywhere. Our brains are hit with nonstop notifications, alerts, and quick rewards. Just think about it. A text ping, the temptation of social media, the urge to check our phones, or the quick thrill from liking a post. It's tough to concentrate on one task for long, right? But what if I told you all these distractions have a common link? They're tied to a brain chemical called dopamine. Knowing about dopamine is your first step toward regaining focus and boosting productivity. In this chapter, we'll dive into what dopamine really is, how it works, and why it plays such a big part in our struggle to stay focused and do deep work. So, what is dopamine? It's known as the brain's reward chemical. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which means it's a chemical messenger that's key in our motivation, rewards, and pleasure systems. It's often called the feel-good chemical. And for good reason. It gives us that warm feeling of happiness when we do something enjoyable, whether it's eating our favorite food, enjoying a hobby, getting compliments, or even seeing likes on our social media posts. Every time that happens, our brains release dopamine, making us feel great and encouraging us to do it again. Interestingly, dopamine doesn't just get released when we feel pleasure. It comes into play even when we expect to feel good. It fuels our drive to chase after rewards, whether they're immediate, like checking your phone, or long-term, like working towards a goal. This anticipation makes dopamine such a strong force. Why is dopamine so crucial? Because it's closely tied to our behavior. When we do something rewarding, our brain releases dopamine, signaling, "This is good, keep at it." This feedback loop shapes our habits, both the good and the bad. But here's the catch. In our fast-paced world, where instant gratification is just a click away, we often find ourselves in a constant chase for that next dopamine hit, whether from social media or junk food. This chase can leave us struggling to focus on tasks that need deep concentration and time. Remember, while dopamine is vital for motivation and rewards, it can also lead us astray. Dopamine plays a tricky role in our modern lives. We're constantly bombarded with high dopamine triggers, which can overwhelm our brain's reward system. This creates a loop that makes it hard to focus on tasks that need time and effort. Over time, this overstimulation can lead to anxiety and restlessness. We end up feeling empty, distracted, and disengaged. Let's dive into how dopamine affects our motivation. It's not just about feeling good. It majorly influences how we make decisions. When we do something rewarding, dopamine levels go up and our brain takes note. This is how we form habits. But here's where it gets interesting. Dopamine is also responsible for the anticipation of rewards. Sometimes we feel just as good thinking about a reward as we do when we actually get it. In fact, it can flood our brains even more when we're anticipating something pleasurable compared to the moment we finally receive it. Think about this. Have you ever spent hours scrolling through social media, liking posts without noticing the time fly? That's dopamine hard at work. Every swipe, like, and comment gives your brain a quick boost of dopamine, making you want to keep going. It feels rewarding, but that satisfaction vanishes quickly, leaving you wanting more. This is a classic example of how chasing short-lived dopamine hits can lead to temporary pleasure but no real fulfillment. As a result, It can make finding satisfaction in tasks that need patience, like studying or completing a project, much harder. This dopamine loop creates a paradox. We're driven by the chase for rewards, yet we get trapped seeking instant gratification, which steals our ability to focus deeply on what truly matters. The constant desire for quick boosts makes it challenging to engage in meaningful work, the kind that fosters growth and mastery. One big challenge we face today is how easily we can get hooked on things that give us a quick burst of dopamine. Scrolling through social media, binge-watching TV shows, or gaming for hours can all lead to a kind of addiction, often without us even realizing it. In this case, dopamine acts a lot like it does with drugs or alcohol. The more we get, the more we need to feel that same high, and stopping becomes tougher. Understanding dopamine addiction is about knowing how our brain's reward system works. Every time we do something that releases dopamine, our brain says, "Hey, this feels good. Do it again." The more we repeat these actions, the more our brains come to rely on the dopamine boost, creating a loop of craving and seeking out rewards. Over time, our brains can get used to these dopamine hits, meaning we need even stronger stimulation to feel satisfied. That's why something as simple as checking your phone a few times a day can spiral into a social media addiction, or how indulging in junk food can turn into a compulsion for comfort eating when we're stressed. But it doesn't stop there. The oversupply of dopamine can lead to a kind of mental fog. You might feel sluggish, distracted, and disconnected from your goals. Focusing on tasks that need your full attention, like tackling a project or studying for an exam, can become tough. The craving for quick, easy rewards can drown out the desire for deeper, more meaningful pursuits. This might make procrastination worse, and the effort it takes to engage in focused work feel daunting. But here's the good news. Just as we can get addicted to distractions and instant rewards, we can also train our brains to appreciate deep work and meaningful activities. The first step is to understand how dopamine works and how it influences your choices. Once you see its impact, you can start making decisions that support your long-term goals instead of just your short-term cravings. Balancing dopamine and mental health is complex, but getting that balance right is crucial. Dealing with anxiety, depression, and stress can be tough, especially when our dopamine levels are high all the time. It creates a mental mess. Our brains get overstimulated, making it hard to concentrate or unwind. This overload can lead to anxiety and restlessness, and sometimes even a desperate need for validation from others. In severe cases, it can lead to bigger issues like depression and burnout. On the flip side, when dopamine levels drop too low, we can feel apathetic, unmotivated, and disconnected from what used to bring us joy. This imbalance, swinging between high and low dopamine, keeps us trapped in a loop of negative emotions. We find ourselves constantly seeking outside sources to fill that emptiness in our minds. It's a tricky balance. When our dopamine gets out of whack, it can seriously affect our well-being. The answer isn't to cut out dopamine completely. Instead, it's about recalibrating how we engage with it. By doing a dopamine detox, we give our brains the chance to reset. This helps us regain control over our reward system, allowing us to enjoy things that truly matter, like focus and personal growth. Over time, this reset can foster healthier habits, boosting our productivity and enhancing our mental health. As we go through this book, remember, understanding dopamine isn't about vilifying it. It's about learning to work with it effectively. Dopamine is a crucial part of our brain's reward system. When used wisely, it can fuel us to achieve great things. But in a world filled with distractions and instant gratification, we've lost touch with managing our dopamine levels. To reclaim your focus, engage in meaningful work, and lead a more fulfilling life, you need to grasp how dopamine works and how to use it to your advantage. Let's dig into the dopamine detox process and start resetting your brain for success. In today's world, where we're constantly connected and bombarded with information, keeping focus on meaningful long-term goals has become one of our biggest challenges. Everywhere we look, something is vying for our attention. Whether it's a ping from a message, a viral video tempting us, or that nagging desire to check social media, these distractions are crafted to grab us. They hijack our dopamine systems and keep us coming back for more. We're living in a time of instant pleasure, where seeking immediate satisfaction has a big influence on our choices, often in ways that aren't good for us. This chapter dives into the modern dopamine trap, showing how our lives are packed with the diversions that keep us stuck, chasing short bursts of happiness and constant stimulation. It's making it tougher to focus and do the deep work we really need to thrive. Think about it. If you found yourself mindlessly scrolling through your social media or binge-watching videos for hours, you're not alone. It's become second nature for so many of us. Social media platforms, apps, and digital entertainment have become experts at hooking our attention, pulling us into an endless cycle of notifications, likes, and updates. But behind the slick surface of these platforms lies a powerful player, dopamine. Each time we check our phones or scroll through a feed, our brains release dopamine. This rewards us and makes us want to repeat the action. That ongoing stream of feel-good moments creates a loop that's hard to escape. The more we engage with these distractions, the more our brains crave that next dopamine fix. Sure, those quick rewards can feel nice in the moment, but they come with a price. We start to expect instant satisfaction, which makes it tough to buckle down on tasks that need patience, hard work, and real thought. This shift to chasing immediate gratification isn't just a personal choice. Tech companies and app developers have designed it this way to keep us hooked. The infinite scroll, the notifications, the recommendations, these elements are all crafted to activate our dopamine systems and draw us back in. While these platforms help us stay connected and entertained, they also highlight how modern technology can keep us trapped. Our brains have been taken over by a culture of distraction. It's all about quick hits of pleasure rather than digging into deep work and staying focused. In this digital age, distractions are everywhere, and they're actually encouraged. This makes it tough to concentrate on tasks that need serious thinking, problem-solving, or creativity. This craving for instant rewards isn't just about social media. It's part of a bigger trend. We see it in binge-watching shows, marathon gaming sessions, and the way we scroll through news. These activities give us quick bursts of joy and entertainment, but they often hurt our mental health and productivity. The more we dive into these high dopamine activities, the more our brains want those quick rewards. That makes it harder to buckle down and tackle tougher tasks that need focus. We start to crave the simplicity and fun of low-effort tasks, which leaves us struggling to concentrate on work, learning, or personal growth. It's a classic battle: instant gratification versus long-term satisfaction. Today, everything is just a button press away. Food delivered, movies streaming, and non-stop entertainment at any time. This easy access to quick pleasures has changed how we spend our time and attention. Instead of putting effort into things that bring lasting joy, like working on that tough project or chasing personal goals, we find ourselves chasing that immediate thrill, needing the instant fix. This shift has a huge effect on our ability to focus and create meaningful work. In the past, success in any area took patience, commitment, and hard work. Whether you were honing a skill, building a career, or nurturing relationships, you had to wait for the rewards, which required steady effort over time. But nowadays, the culture of instant gratification makes it harder to stick with those long-term goals. We've been conditioned to want rewards right away, and when we don't get that instant payoff, it can be frustrating. It can be really frustrating, overwhelming, and even discouraging. We start to see work, learning, and personal growth as chores instead of enjoyable journeys. The truth is that fast-paced cycle of chasing quick pleasure creates a clash between what feels good right now and what we truly need for lasting happiness and fulfillment. The issue with chasing dopamine is that those quick fixes, like checking your phone for new messages or watching funny videos, only give us a momentary buzz. Sure, they're fun for a bit, but they don't lead to any real sense of achievement or joy. In fact, after all that time spent scrolling or binge-watching, we often just feel drained, distracted, and kind of empty inside. We might spend hours on our phones, but what do we really gain in terms of personal growth or making progress on our goals? If we do this long enough, it can wear down our sense of fulfillment. We end up feeling disconnected from what we truly care about and the ambitions we want to chase. To get out of this rut, we need to stop focusing on those quick distractions and start prioritizing activities that require time, effort, and deep involvement. Now, this doesn't mean we need to cut out all fun and pleasure from our lives. Enjoyment is important, but we have to learn how to balance those quick rewards with the deeper satisfaction that comes from hard work, personal growth, and meaningful achievements. By understanding the tension between instant pleasure and long-lasting fulfillment, we can redirect our energy to what really counts. Dopamine plays a big part in keeping us stuck in unproductive habits. Our modern world is built to distract us, and we see this clearly in how our brains react to dopamine. Every time we do something that gives us a dopamine hit, like checking our phone or munching on junk food, our brain rewards us with a little burst of pleasure. This creates a cycle that encourages us to keep repeating those behaviors. Over time, these habits become ingrained in our daily lives, making it tougher to break free from them. The reason these loops are so hard to escape is because of how dopamine rewires our brains. Dopamine does more than just give us a quick thrill. It helps strengthen the pathways in our brains related to the things that trigger its release. So, every time we check our phones or indulge in something we enjoy, we're actually reinforcing that habit. This makes it easier and more automatic to do it again. That's why habits like scrolling through social media mindlessly or binge-watching TV can be tough to shake off. The more we do these things, the more our brains want them, trapping us in a cycle of distraction. It can leave us feeling unproductive and overwhelmed. But here's the catch. These unproductive habits don't lead to anything meaningful. They might feel good in the moment, but don't really help us grow or succeed in the long run. Often they work against our goals, making it harder to stay focused and engaged in tasks that need our attention. The dopamine loop of distractions keeps us stuck chasing instant gratification instead of doing the deep work we really want. To break this cycle, we need to recognize how dopamine is influencing our habits. By seeing the connection between our actions, our brain's rewards, and dopamine, we can start to make better choices about how we spend our time. This awareness is our first step to regaining control over our focus and productivity. Instead of letting our dopamine-driven urges take the wheel, we can focus on activities that truly support our long-term goals. This means creating new habits that encourage deep work, personal growth, and true satisfaction. It's crucial to remember that we don't have to accept the modern distractions we face. Even in a world full of instant temptations, we have the power to break free and rewire our brains for stronger focus and more meaningful work. By understanding how dopamine shapes our behavior and recognizing its impact on our habits, we can take steps to regain control over our attention and our lives. This is the first step toward building a life that values deep work, personal growth, and a sense of fulfillment that comes from inside, not from the short-lived pleasures of outside distractions. Chapter 3. The Science of Deep Work in Today's World. Nowadays, it's easy to feel swamped by the endless flow of information and distractions. We often find ourselves, almost without realizing it, chasing after quick rewards instead of embracing the hard work, focus, and patience that lead to real success. But there's one skill that can unlock your potential and fuel long-term success: deep work. So what is deep work, and why is it so hard to find in our distracting world? Deep work is all about being able to concentrate deeply on challenging tasks without distractions. It's that intense focus that allows you to stretch your mental limits and produce high-quality work in less time. In a distraction-filled world, this focused effort is incredibly valuable and has become one of the key skills anyone can develop. In this chapter, we'll explore the science behind deep work, uncover its huge benefits, and figure out why it's so challenging to achieve in today's society. Most importantly, we'll see how we can train our minds to reach this state of sharp focus. So what is deep work? It's all about focused and undistracted effort. Deep work isn't just about putting in more hours at your computer or simply working harder. It's about working smarter by directing your energy toward tasks that demand serious cognitive effort and creativity. On the flip side, shallow work is easy, repetitive, and often low stakes. Deep work, however, requires mental effort that pushes your intellectual limits. It can take many forms: writing a detailed report, solving a tough problem, creating art, developing software, or preparing for an important exam. The common thread among these activities is that they need your full attention and long stretches of focus without interruptions. The main difference between deep work and shallow work lies in how deeply you engage your brain. Shallow work, like checking emails, scrolling social media, or sitting in meetings, doesn't need much mental effort. These tasks can often be done mindlessly. Distractions pull us away from what really matters. But deep work, that's a different story. It means diving deep into your task. It takes focus, mental energy, and shutting out those distractions. When you really engage in deep work, you can hit a flow state. You know, that moment when you're so into what you're doing that time just flies by. In that state, you're your most productive, your most creative, and you can give it your all. Deep work is a skill you can learn. Not everyone finds it easy, especially in a world that's all about distractions and constant buzz. But trust me, the rewards are huge. Being able to focus deeply for a while is key for doing well at work or school. It also helps you grow personally and feel fulfilled. When you dive into deep work, you don't just tick off tasks. You create better results, learn new things, and feel that amazing sense of achievement that comes from doing something well. And let's talk about the brain benefits. When you engage in deep work, you aren't just checking boxes on a to-do list, you're actually boosting your brain power. Ever heard of neuroplasticity? That's your brain's way of rearranging itself, making new connections. When you focus hard on tough tasks, your brain is busy building those new connections and making the old ones stronger. It's not just about getting things done. It's about growing your mind and creativity. One big plus of deep work, it helps you solve problems. The more you practice deep work, the better you get at tackling complex issues and coming up with creative solutions. Why? Because deep work unlocks your mind's full potential, pushing you to think critically, analyze information, and connect dots you wouldn't normally see. It's through this sustained focus that you can access advanced thinking skills and have those light bulb moments that seem impossible otherwise. Plus, deep work clears your mind and sharpens your thinking. When you dive deep into a task, you're sharpening your decision-making skills. By shutting out distractions, you clear your mind and make better choices. Another big benefit? It boosts your working memory. That's your brain's ability to hold on to and juggle information for a short time, crucial for figuring things out, making decisions, and learning. Deep work challenges your working memory. It pushes you to keep several bits of information in your head at once while you think things through. Over time, this makes your working memory more efficient. It helps you think quicker, remember better, and function at a higher level. Plus, deep work sparks creativity. When you're not interrupted, your mind has the space to roam. You start connecting different ideas and coming up with fresh solutions. Without constant distractions, it's like a mental playground where your creativity can flourish. Deep work also cuts down on mental fatigue, helping you keep your focus and energy up for longer. This is key for generating creative output. As you practice deep work, you build mental strength, making it easier to take on tougher challenges and stretch your cognitive limits. In today's fast-paced world, the challenge of deep work isn't just knowing why it's good for you. It's about beating the distractions that hold you back from that focused state. We're always connected now, with notifications buzzing and distractions everywhere. Our devices pull our attention in a million ways. This never-ending stimulation makes it hard to concentrate, which is essential for deep work. One major hurdle is something called attention residue. This happens when you're trying to do too many things at once. The leftover thoughts from those distractions linger in your mind, making it tough to really focus on what you need to do. If you check your email or scroll through social media while working on something, your brain gets a bit stuck on those distractions. Even when you go back to your main task, that leftover noise lingers. This clogs your thinking and makes it tough to focus, so you can't perform at your best. The more distractions you let in, the more that mental clutter builds, and it gets harder to dive deep into your work. To tackle this, you need to actively cut out distractions and train your brain to focus. A great way to do this is by setting up an environment that helps you get into that deep work zone. This could mean turning off notifications, finding a quiet spot, or using website blockers to keep those distracting sites at bay. But it's not just about cutting out the external noise. You also need to train yourself to resist internal distractions, like the urge to check your phone or procrastinate. Building mental discipline is crucial for mastering deep work, and it takes practice and effort. You can start training your brain by developing the ability to resist temptations and refocus when distractions pop up. One effective approach is called focused sprints. This means working in concentrated bursts, usually for about 25 to 50 minutes, followed by short breaks. This method helps your brain learn to focus for longer while still getting some downtime. As you keep doing focused sprints, you'll build mental toughness and improve your focus during those deep work sessions. Another helpful technique is mindfulness meditation. This practice teaches you to notice your thoughts and gently guide your attention back to the task whenever distractions come in. It sharpens your ability to stay present and engaged, even with distractions all around. The aim of deep work isn't just about getting more done. It's about training your brain to work at its best and fully engage in what really matters. By learning to focus deeply, you can tap into your true potential, create better quality work, and find more satisfaction in what you do. Finding satisfaction and fulfillment in both work and life. Chapter 4 dives into the science of dopamine and how it connects to deep work. As we take on the challenge of mastering deep work, it's vital to grasp how our brain's reward system operates. Deep work is all about intense focus and concentration. It pushes us to expand our thinking abilities and is closely tied to dopamine, a neurotransmitter that's often linked to pleasure, motivation, and reward. But dopamine isn't just about chasing pleasure. It's crucial for our learning, memory, and feeling satisfied when we hit long-term goals. In this chapter, we'll look at how dopamine interacts with deep work. We'll see how it can help or hinder our focus, and how we can adjust our brain's reward system to promote sustained, high-quality work. So, why is dopamine so important? It's often called the motivation molecule. It drives our urge to reach for goals. When we achieve something rewarding, a piece of chocolate, a buzz from our phone, or a goal within our grasp, dopamine releases in our brain. But it goes way beyond just feeling good. It's involved in our brain's reward networks, updating us on our progress and encouraging behaviors that lead to success. When we experience dopamine release, our brain gets the message that we've done something good and encourages us to do it again. That connection makes dopamine a key player in learning and forming habits. It helps us pick up on the behaviors that yield rewards, driving us to repeat them in a cycle that strengthens those habits. Dopamine doesn't just reward us for what we've done. It kicks in when we think about our goals, too. This is why the journey toward a goal can feel just as motivating as reaching it, even if that reward is far off. Our brains are wired to feel good not only when we achieve something, but also while we're in pursuit of it. That anticipation pushes us forward, helps guide our efforts, and gets us to take action, especially when it comes to deep work. Dopamine plays a vital role when we tackle tasks that need our full focus and effort. As we make progress, our brain releases dopamine, which keeps us motivated to push through challenges. This release supports our habits of deep work and helps us stick with demanding tasks for longer. But here's the catch: this reward system can easily be derailed by the temptation of instant gratification. Now, picture the struggle between distractions fueled by dopamine and the deep work we want to accomplish. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with notifications, social media updates, and other quick rewards vying for our attention. Our dopamine system is a double-edged sword. On one side, it encourages us to stick with our long-term goals by rewarding our progress. On the flip side, the non-stop availability of instant rewards, like checking our phones or getting lost in online entertainment, floods our brains with dopamine. This reinforces short-term, shallow rewards and hinders our ability to stay focused on the meaningful work that leads to real success. Understanding how dopamine functions and affects our motivation is essential. We need to learn how to use its power productively instead of letting it pull us away from what truly counts. In this fast-paced world filled with endless connectivity and stimulation, it's all about avoiding distractions. From the moment we wake up, we're hit with notifications, emails, and messages that demand our attention. These distractions aren't just little interruptions. They're designed to exploit our brain's dopamine system. Every time we glance at our phones, reply to a text, or scroll through social media, we trigger dopamine release. This creates a loop where our brains expect constant stimulation, making it harder to focus on tasks that don't offer the same quick rewards. In this way, the dopamine system becomes a tool that companies and platforms use to keep us glued to their content. The more time we spend scrolling, the more dopamine gets released, reinforcing the habit and trapping us in a cycle of constant checking. This is what we call the attention economy. Why is deep work so tough nowadays? Well, we live in an attention economy. This means our focus is seen as a precious commodity. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube are built to grab our attention and keep it. They use clever algorithms and notifications that pull us back in. Every time we interact, our brains get a little dopamine hit, making us feel good. This creates a loop that's hard to break. We start craving those quick bursts of pleasure, making it tougher to stay focused on anything demanding. As a result, we can't dive deep into our work because digital distractions are always nagging at us. This culture of distraction has become the norm. We're trained to juggle multiple things at once, thinking it boosts productivity. But really, multitasking kills our efficiency. Each time we bounce between checking emails, texting, or scrolling through social media, we shatter our concentration. This back and forth makes it nearly impossible to engage in deep, uninterrupted work that truly matters. Plus, it overloads our brains, complicating how we process and remember information. In short, the attention economy feeds our distraction addiction and hinders our ability to focus on the hard stuff. But here's the silver lining: our brains aren't stuck in these patterns. Thanks to neuroplasticity, the brain's knack for creating new pathways, we can actually rewire ourselves. We can learn to move past our craving for instant gratification and embrace deep work instead. The first step: acknowledge how dopamine shapes our habits, both good and bad. By doing this, we can start to regain control over our focus and zero in on what truly matters. Get to know how your awareness influences your actions and reactions. With this understanding, you can make deliberate choices to shift your focus from distractions to tasks that need real effort and concentration. A powerful way to rewire your brain is through forming intentional habits. Deep work needs habits that help you focus long-term, not ones that pull you away with constant distractions. One method to do this is by having dopamine detox periods. During these times, you consciously step back from things that spike dopamine, like checking your phone, binge-watching TV, or scrolling through social media. By taking these breaks, your brain gets a chance to reset, breaking the cycle of nonstop stimulation and rewarding you for putting energy into tasks that require real focus. Over time, as you practice these detox periods, your brain will start to adjust its reward system. You'll learn to find pleasure in the deep work itself instead of in quick distractions. Another great way to rewire your brain is by embracing delayed gratification. Rather than chasing after immediate rewards, you can train yourself to concentrate on long-term goals and the contentment that comes from achieving them. Setting clear, measurable goals and breaking them into smaller, manageable tasks will help. This approach gives you a feeling of progress and accomplishment that keeps flowing over time, providing a steady stream of dopamine without needing constant distractions. The key here is to slowly shift your brain from seeking immediate pleasure to aiming for lasting fulfillment, creating a better balance in how you stay motivated and focused. Lastly, remember that deep work isn't just about getting things done. It's also about finding meaning and purpose in what you do. Dopamine isn't just released from pleasure. It comes from engaging in activities that feel meaningful and rewarding. By committing to deep work, you're investing in your growth, creativity, and intellect. The joy of completing a tough task or figuring out a tricky problem serves as a source of inner motivation that brings lasting satisfaction. When you align your deep work with your personal values and goals, you foster a real sense of purpose that boosts your focus and pushes you to excel. In this chapter, we dive into the science of dopamine and how it plays a big role in our motivation, rewards, and distractions. Dopamine isn't just about instant pleasure. It's crucial for understanding how our brains handle both serious work and the things that pull us away. By recognizing how dopamine influences our actions, we can take steps to reshape our brain's reward system. This means shifting our focus from quick wins to lasting satisfaction. The journey of deep work isn't just about putting in more hours, it's about figuring out how to work smarter. We can harness the power of dopamine to maintain meaningful efforts over time. As we continue on the path to mastery, we'll learn to use this insight to build new habits, fend off distractions, and reach our biggest goals. Chapter 5 is all about overcoming resistance and building the deep work habit. If you've ever tried to dive into deep work, you know it isn't always simple. Even when we understand its value, we often find ourselves resisting what's truly rewarding. This struggle, fighting against focus and discipline, is one of the toughest hurdles when trying to form deep work habits. It feels like our brains are wired to oppose the very thing that would make us stronger, more focused, and ultimately more successful. But why does this resistance happen, and how do we tackle it? In this chapter, we'll look at the psychological and physical reasons behind resistance. We'll explore why our brains tend to dodge the discomfort that comes with staying focused. Most importantly, we'll share practical strategies to build deep work habits that can stand strong against procrastination and distraction. The essence of resistance lies in our brain's urge for comfort. Resistance to deep work often springs from our natural instinct to seek ease and steer clear of anything uncomfortable. This goes back to our ancestors, who had to conserve energy and avoid pain to survive. Our brains are hardwired to chase quick rewards and shy away from tasks that feel tough, challenging, or new. Deep work demands intense concentration and mental effort, making it the complete opposite of what our brains prefer. The brain loves comfort, which is why falling into habits is so easy. When we face tough tasks, it's simple to procrastinate. Our minds resist the hard work that demands focus. It feels overwhelming. This is made worse by the endless distractions of today's world. We live in a time where quick satisfaction is just one click away. Social media, entertainment, emails. Our brains crave those quick dopamine fixes instead of the long-term rewards that come from really concentrating. As soon as we sit down to tackle something important, our minds start hunting for distractions, no matter how tiny, just to escape the strain of staying focused. The urge to check your phone, read an article, or get up and do something else is like a magnet. That's resistance at play, pulling you away from what you need to do and leading you into the cozy land of distraction. But here's the thing. Understanding resistance is the first step to beating it. Recognizing that resistance isn't about your willpower or skills, it's just how your brain works, lets you tackle it with more kindness and strategy. It doesn't mean you're weak or undisciplined. It just shows you're up against a natural pushback when doing mentally demanding work. Once you realize this, you can start developing the habits that help you push through that resistance and reach deep work, where your brain shines and you can achieve focused, meaningful tasks. Creating a routine is key to making deep work a daily habit. One of the best ways to fight resistance is by structuring your day around it. The power of routine is huge. When you stick to a schedule for deep work, you cut down on the mental energy spent deciding when to work and what to focus on. Instead of leaning on willpower, which might change from day to day, you build a solid plan that trains your brain to expect and gear up for those focused work sessions. A routine acts like a mental trigger, signaling to your brain that it's time to buckle down and dive into deep work, no matter how you feel at that moment. Over time, your brain connects certain times of day with focused work, which helps you get into a groove. To create a solid, deep work routine, consistency is key. First, figure out when you're most alert and ready to concentrate. For many, this might be early in the morning or after a break. Once you know your best times, schedule them into your day like they're important meetings. Don't skip them. The more you stick to these deep work periods, the more they'll become part of your everyday life. Eventually, deep work turns into a habit. You won't even have to think about it. Your brain will start expecting and craving those moments of intense focus. And that initial resistance, it'll start to fade away. Beyond consistency, it's crucial to set clear goals for each deep work session. This gives you direction and purpose, making it easier to stay focused and motivated. Instead of just sitting down without a plan, decide what you want to achieve, whether that's hitting a word count, solving a specific issue, or finishing a task. Having a clear goal gives you something to work toward, and accomplishing it feels rewarding. Plus, it helps keep distractions at bay, as your mind knows where to focus when interruptions come up. Routine and clarity create a solid feedback loop. The more you practice deep work, the easier it gets. You'll build a habit of sustained focus. Now, let's talk mindset. It's important to embrace the discomfort that comes with deep work. Sure, feeling mentally drained or frustrated can make you want to avoid those tough tasks. But instead of seeing this discomfort as a setback, view it as part of the process. Taking a break or stopping can feel tough, but it's really important to see it as a normal part of doing deep work. This shift in thinking helps you build strength and stay focused over the long haul. When you view discomfort as a signal that you're doing important work, it transforms into something you no longer fear. One smart way to handle that uncomfortable feeling is by breaking down big tasks into smaller, more manageable bits. Facing a huge project can make starting feel impossible, but when you slice it up into tiny steps, the mental hurdle shrinks and getting going becomes easier. Each little step becomes its own mini goal. Completing these mini goals gives you a sense of progress, boosting your drive to keep going. Plus, this strategy helps ward off the burnout that can come from biting off more than you can chew. Instead of fixating on a far-off goal, which might feel out of reach, you focus on what's right in front of you. This keeps you engaged and in the moment. Another key mindset shift is to recognize that deep work is a skill you can get better at over time, much like building muscle at the gym. The more you hone your ability to focus, the stronger it gets. At first, deep work might be uncomfortable and draining, and your brain will need time to adjust. But with practice, you'll build mental stamina, and that initial discomfort will become easier to handle. You'll start to enjoy the benefits of deep work, the joy of finishing meaningful tasks, the feeling of growing intellectually, and the confidence that comes from consistently pushing yourself to do amazing work. Shifting from avoiding discomfort to accepting it is one of the best tools for overcoming resistance and creating a lasting habit of deep work. In this chapter, we've covered the mental blocks that can get in the way of deep work and shared ways to tackle them. Resistance to deep work is totally normal, but by understanding what causes it and setting clear goals while embracing the tough effort, we can break through those barriers and make deep work a reality. Making deep work a regular part of our lives not only boosts our productivity, but also sharpens our focus, helps us learn new skills, and allows us to produce meaningful work that matches our true potential. The struggle against distractions is real, but with the right mindset and tools, we can train our brains to dive deep into focused work. This leads to real success and satisfaction. This chapter is all about tackling the hurdles that stop us from getting into that deep work state. It encourages us to understand the mental challenges we face, the need to stick to a routine, and to embrace the discomfort that often comes with hard work. It offers practical tips for building habits that encourage deep work, reshaping our challenges into chances for growth. By facing the internal barriers to our focus, we can nurture a work life that's more productive, meaningful, and fulfilling. Now, on to Chapter 6, Managing Your Environment, Designing Your Space for Deep Work. Your workspace has a huge but often ignored impact on your ability to do deep work. Whether it's office noise, distractions at home, or the lure of your devices, your surroundings can make it either hard or easy to concentrate and perform well. As we learn to master deep work, we realize that it's not just about the right mindset or routine. It's also about creating an environment that promotes focus, cuts down distractions, and boosts productivity. This chapter covers how to set up both your physical and digital spaces to enhance deep work. You'll discover ways to minimize distractions, optimize your area for better thinking, and build mental and physical setups that support ongoing, meaningful work. By the chapter's end, you'll know how to shape your surroundings so they aid you in achieving deep work and pave the way for success. When it comes to deep work, one of the key things to create an environment that helps your efforts is cutting down distractions. Distractions, whether they're coming from inside your head or outside, are the enemy of focus. They break our concentration and draw us away from what we need to do, making it tough to keep up our mental effort. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. It starts with notifications dinging on our phones, the buzz of chatter in the office, and the temptation of online entertainment. These interruptions can seriously derail our focus and even hurt the quality of our work. Whenever we get sidetracked, it takes time and energy to get back on track. This back and forth between tasks can lead to mental exhaustion, making it harder to do meaningful and deep work. To fight this, it's crucial to create a space that cuts down on distractions. This means controlling your environment, whether you're at home or in the office. pick a spot specifically for deep work, somewhere you won't be interrupted. If you can, choose a quiet room or a corner away from the hustle and bustle. Make sure this area is free from the usual distractions of our digital lives. No TV, no social media, and no personal devices that might tempt you to check messages or updates. This space should be just for high concentration work, but it's not just about what's around you. You also need to tackle distractions in your mind. Our thoughts can race with worries and to-do lists. To manage this mental clutter, set clear intentions before diving into deep work. Take a moment to jot down what you want to accomplish and establish specific goals. This helps sharpen your focus and calms the mental noise that can pull you away from your task. By creating a dedicated space for deep work and getting your mind ready to focus, you boost your chances of engaging in quality work and reduce the likelihood of getting sidetracked. Now, let's talk about technology. In our fast-paced world, it's a huge source of distraction. From the moment we wake up, we're flooded with digital alerts, emails, texts, social media notifications, and the constant buzz of our phones. While technology can make things easier, it also demands our attention at every turn. Every ping can pull us away from what we're doing. Digital distractions can really break our focus, especially when we're trying to dive into deep work. They keep us from truly engaging with tough tasks. To fight this, it's important to set boundaries with our tech. Think of it as a tool for getting work done, not a thing that pulls you away. Start by turning off notifications that aren't essential. It's amazing how much this one change can boost your focus. Without those constant pings, you can think more clearly. If you need to really concentrate, try putting your phone in another room. Consider using website blockers to keep away distracting sites, and set time limits for checking emails or scrolling through social media. These steps aren't just about cutting down on distractions. They're about building an environment that helps you focus and be more productive. By laying down clear tech boundaries, you carve out mental space for deep work. Also, it helps to set certain times during the day for checking emails or social media. Schedule these times ahead of time and stick to them. By limiting your tech check-ins to these planned slots, you stop it from hijacking your attention all day long. This way, you stay in control of your digital life instead of letting your devices take over. With less digital noise, your brain can zero in on what you need to get done. This leads to deeper, more meaningful work. Technology can really help us, but we have to manage it carefully to keep it from becoming a constant distraction. Now, let's not forget the importance of preparing your mind and body for deep work. While a distraction-free space is key, you also need to make sure you're ready mentally and physically for the focus that's needed. Deep work is demanding. It takes concentration, problem-solving, and creative thinking. To perform well, your body and mind need to be in good shape. Start with physical preparation. When your body is well rested, you can maintain your focus much longer. If you're tired or uncomfortable, it's going to be tough to stay engaged in deep work. To set yourself up for deep work, start by prioritizing sleep. Eating well and exercising regularly will keep your body alert and energized. Your physical health lays the groundwork for clear thinking, and it has a big impact on how well you can concentrate and tackle intense tasks. Just as important is getting your mind ready. Before you dive into deep work, try a quick ritual that tells your brain it's time to focus. This could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, meditating for a bit, or jotting down what you want to achieve in that session. These little practices help clear your mind of distractions and set a clear purpose for your work. They make sure you enter your deep work session with direction. Instead of jumping right into your tasks, take a moment to remind yourself why this work matters and how it fits into your bigger goals. This sense of purpose helps you push through tough spots and stay on track when things get challenging. And don't forget about breaks. Deep work is rewarding but can be mentally tiring. Taking regular breaks is key to keeping your focus sharp. A good approach is to work in chunks of 90 minutes, then take a short break. During these breaks, do something different. Stretch, take a walk, or listen to some music. These moments help refresh your brain so you can maintain your energy and focus for the next round. By managing your mental and physical state, you can improve your ability to engage in deep work, making each session productive and fulfilling. In this chapter, we've talked about how your environment can boost or block your ability to focus. We've covered creating a distraction-free space, setting tech boundaries, and preparing your mind and body for the work ahead. Designing your space isn't just about getting rid of distractions. It's about building an environment that supports meaningful work. By shaping both your physical and mental surroundings, you enhance your capacity for deep work and maximize your productivity and creativity as you move forward. Keep in mind that deep work isn't just about how hard you work, it's also about the environment you set up for your success. This chapter highlights the importance of crafting a workspace that encourages real focus. You want to cut down on distractions and get both your body and mind ready for the challenge of deep work. By organizing your physical and digital environments and adopting habits that boost your energy and attention, you can create the best conditions to dive deep into your work and reach your full potential. Chapter 7. The Art of Sustaining Focus: How to Build Cognitive Endurance for Deep Work. Our minds are incredibly powerful. They can accomplish amazing things in creativity, concentration, and problem-solving. But even with all that potential, it's often tough to stay focused for long stretches, especially in a world filled with distractions. Every second we're hit with information and interruptions, making it harder to engage in uninterrupted deep work. Yet, like any skill, the ability to maintain focus can be developed with practice and intention. In this chapter, we'll look at how to build cognitive endurance for deep work, strategies to keep your focus over time, and physical and mental habits that will help you stay sharp and energized during your most intense work sessions. This isn't about pushing yourself to work longer or harder. Instead, it's about grasping the mental and physical sides of focus, learning how to keep your attention on deep work without burning out. By developing cognitive endurance, you can accomplish more in less time and tap into the power of sustained concentration. First, let's understand cognitive fatigue. Why focusing is tough. To build cognitive endurance, we need to know why it's hard to keep our focus for long periods. Unlike physical endurance, where you push your muscles to get stronger, cognitive endurance is about training your mind to hold attention without getting distracted or mentally drained. Our brains aren't built to focus nonstop for hours. Cognitive fatigue, that tiredness that hits after lots of intense focus, is just our mind's natural reaction to the heavy demands of deep work. Our brains use a lot of energy when we focus on tasks. Just like our muscles, they can get tired if we push them too hard for too long. That's why, after a long stretch of deep work, you might feel mentally wiped out, like your brain is running on empty. We can only maintain attention for so long, And if we don't manage it well, we can easily lose focus. Distractions make it even tougher. External ones like noise, interruptions, or social media temptations can break our concentration, forcing our brains to switch gears and wasting precious mental energy. Then there are internal distractions, wandering thoughts, worries, or self-doubt that complicate focus even more. Every time our attention drifts away from our work, whether from distractions or just losing our train of thought, it takes time and energy to get back on track. The more these interruptions happen, the more tired our brains get, making it harder to stay focused. This constant starting and stopping not only slows us down, but also leaves us mentally drained, making deep work harder over time. Recognizing cognitive fatigue is the first step to building mental stamina. It's not just about pushing through when you feel tired. It's about learning how to manage and recover from that fatigue. By adopting habits that reduce mental strain and allow for recovery, you can train your brain to stay focused longer without burning out or losing productivity. Building this endurance doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that takes consistency, intention, and an understanding of your brain's limits. It's not about hitting the edge of exhaustion, but instead about teaching your mind to keep focusing for longer while still feeling clear and energized. One of the best ways to build cognitive stamina is to take regular breaks during your work sessions. It might sound strange. How can taking a break help you focus better? But the truth is, breaks are not a sign of weakness or a lack of discipline. They actually help you recharge and get back to work stronger. Actually, breaks are crucial for keeping your mind clear and avoiding mental burnout. Research shows our brains work best when we mix intense focus with some time to recover. Just like a marathon runner needs to pace themselves to prevent exhaustion, your brain needs regular pauses to perform well. Without those breaks, fatigue kicks in and staying focused becomes harder. Even a short break lets your brain recharge, refresh, and jump back into the work with new energy. There are several ways to fit breaks into your deep work routine. One popular method is the Pomodoro technique. It's simple. You work hard for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. After doing this 4 times, you take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes. This method gives your brain a chance to recover between focused work, making sure your energy doesn't run out too fast. Plus, knowing a break is coming soon helps keep that sense of urgency, making it easier to stay focused and resist distractions. But the Pomodoro technique is just one way to organize your work and rest. The secret is to find what rhythm suits you best. Some people prefer longer work sessions with fewer breaks, while others like to break things up into short intervals. The goal is to balance focus and recovery, so your mind stays sharp and ready for deep work. It's also key to make those breaks truly restorative. Just stepping away from your desk for a few minutes doesn't cut it. Your breaks need to be activities that take your mind off work, like going for a walk, stretching, practicing mindfulness, or meditating. Physical movement during your break is especially effective, boosting blood flow to the brain and helping ease the tension from sitting too long. These restorative breaks reset your mind, so when it's time to dive back into work, you feel refreshed and focused. Building mental resilience is important too. While breaks help with endurance, training your brain to maintain focus for longer stretches also takes practice. Just like how your body gets stronger with exercise, your brain gets better at focusing through practice. The more you push yourself to concentrate, the better you'll get at it. To build mental resilience, Start small. Gradually increase how long and how intensely you focus. If you're new to deep work, kick things off with shorter focus sessions, then slowly extend them. Trying to dive into long hours of deep work too quickly can lead to frustration and burnout. Instead, find a sweet spot between what challenges you and what you can handle. One effective way to boost your mental resilience is through mindfulness. It helps train your brain to stay present and focused. Mindfulness is all about paying attention to the moment without judging it. This practice can make you more aware of when your thoughts start to drift. By practicing mindfulness regularly, you'll get better at bringing your attention back to what you're working on, even when distractions pop up. It also helps clear away the mental clutter. When your mind is full of worries and racing thoughts, it's tough to concentrate. Mindfulness reduces that noise, making it easier to dive into your deep work. Another key element in building mental resilience is adopting a growth mindset. This means believing that your skills and intelligence can grow with effort and practice. With a growth mindset, you'll start to see challenges as opportunities to improve instead of roadblocks. This attitude helps you push through the tough spots during your deep work sessions. Rather than viewing distractions or slips in focus as failures, you'll see them as part of your learning journey. Over time, this shift in perspective makes it easier to focus longer and embrace the discomfort that comes with deep work. In this chapter, we've looked into cognitive endurance and how to develop the mental stamina needed for deep work. We've also discussed how cognitive fatigue can affect your focus. Our ability to focus is crucial, and taking breaks is key to maintaining that focus. Strengthening your mental resilience and building cognitive endurance doesn't mean you have to work longer hours. Instead, it's about training your mind to focus better and more efficiently over time. By managing your mental energy, taking restorative breaks, and developing a growth mindset, you can boost your endurance for deep work. This will not only ramp up your productivity, but also help you unlock your full potential and do your best work. Let's talk about rewiring the brain and the long-term effects of dopamine. The idea of rewiring can often make you picture a huge personal transformation, like someone going from scatterbrain to calm overnight. But the truth? It's a slower, deeper process. It's not just about swapping bad habits for good ones. It's about reshaping how your brain processes information, reacts to the world, and manages motivation. When we mention dopamine detox and its lasting effects, we are really touching on the brain's amazing ability to change over time, its neuroplasticity. This chapter is all about that long-term journey. We'll explore how dopamine discipline can reshape your brain for lasting focus. What changes happen when you practice consistently, and how can you take control of your attention? This isn't just about battling your worst impulses or saying no. It's about fundamentally shifting how you interact with the world and with yourself. Now, let's dive into neuroplasticity and habit transformation. The brain isn't fixed. For years, scientists thought that once we hit adulthood, our brain's structure was pretty much set in stone. Sure, we could learn new things, but the core wiring, the habits, and automatic responses were locked in. But new research in neuroplasticity has turned that idea on its head. We realize now that our brains are constantly evolving based on our experiences, choices, and the habits we strengthen. Every time you resist the urge to scroll mindlessly or push through a task, you're setting the groundwork for change. When you tackle a tough task without getting distracted, you're telling your brain, "This is the path I want to take." And guess what? Your brain pays attention. It uses a process called synaptic pruning. Connections that get used a lot get stronger, while the ones that don't start to fade away. So, every time you choose to dive into deep work instead of scrolling or zoning out, you're not just fighting temptation. You're actually creating new focused pathways in your brain. As time goes on, these changes really stand out. What once felt hard, like resisting Instagram, staying on task for an hour, or skipping mindless entertainment, becomes second nature. The struggle fades not because the distractions disappear, but because your brain starts working differently. This is what habit transformation is all about. It's less about forcing yourself to do things, and more about making new, better habits feel natural. The more you step back from dopamine-heavy activities and embrace more disciplined, intentional ones, the more those positive behaviors become your go-to. This is why taking small, consistent steps is way more effective than going all out for a week and burning out. You're not just trying to survive a week without your favorite distractions. You're teaching your brain what matters, what to expect, and who you want to be. That shift in identity, fueled by your brain's ability to change, is where real, lasting change happens. And it's important to note, this rewiring isn't just for work habits, it also shifts how we find pleasure. When your brain isn't overwhelmed by constant new stuff, it starts to appreciate subtler, more meaningful joys. A walk becomes refreshing. Reading a single page of a book captures your attention, and moments of quiet feel rich instead of empty. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity. It doesn't just help us change our actions, it changes how we feel about the world. Over time, you don't just act differently, you feel differently too. And in a society that craves instant gratification and excess, that transformation is truly revolutionary. When most people first try to practice dopamine discipline, they usually struggle to focus. Their minds might wander, they might fidget or reach for their phones when they shouldn't. But this isn't failure. It's the first sign of change. The modern mind can be like a muscle that hasn't been used in ages, expecting it to perform well right off the bat. That's asking a lot. Just like physical training, consistent effort leads to real improvement over time. As you practice deep work and step back from those high dopamine distractions, your brain builds endurance. Tasks that seemed boring or impossible to tackle in one go start to feel doable. Eventually, they can even be engrossing. This process is one of the best perks of sticking to dopamine discipline. Your focus becomes stronger, both in how long you can concentrate and how deeply. And it's not just about getting things done. It changes how you experience time and attention. Instead of jumping from task to task or feeling rushed, you start to see work as a more fluid experience. When you're deeply focused, an hour of uninterrupted work can be more productive than 4 hours of scattered, distracted effort. As your brain adjusts to this new rhythm, it starts craving it. Scrolling or mindless entertainment doesn't seem as appealing anymore. It's not because you're denying yourself. It just feels less satisfying compared to being truly immersed in something. That's when you know your focus has grown. It becomes self-sustaining. You don't have to force yourself to concentrate anymore. Deep work itself is rewarding. Plus, maintaining focus builds a cycle of confidence. Each time you finish a tough task without distraction, you prove to yourself that you can do meaningful work. That confidence grows with every session, every completed project, and every challenge you overcome. You start to see yourself not as someone who struggles with focus, but as someone who thrives in it. This change in how you see yourself is one of the most powerful outcomes of long-term dopamine discipline. It transforms you from just trying to stay on task to becoming the kind of person who simply does. And that transformation, it's sturdy, it sticks with you even when the noise of the world creeps back in. There comes a moment in this journey of rewiring your brain when you begin to grasp something truly significant. You're not just a victim of your impulses. You're not stuck in a cycle of distraction. You have the power to shape your focus. And realizing that shifts everything. Once you recognize that your surroundings, habits, and even your thoughts are within your control, you start to see focus as a skill, not a limitation. Dopamine discipline isn't about following rules anymore. It's about taking charge. You can mold your inner world, and in turn, you change your outer world. But this kind of intentionality doesn't come instantly. It builds up over time through consistent effort and self-reflection. You'll notice which places help you focus and which ones throw you off track. You'll figure out the times of day when you're at your best, and you'll plan your tasks around them. You'll set up your digital space to help rather than hinder your goals. Instead of just cutting out distractions, you'll create rituals that signal it's time to concentrate, like a specific playlist or a favorite cup of coffee, or even pausing for a moment to breathe deeply before diving into work. Over time, these small habits will anchor you, reminding you that you're in control, that this space is special, and your attention is valuable. Soon enough, your outside world starts to reflect that inner clarity. You'll say no more often, not to avoid things, but to stay true to yourself. You'll focus on depth rather than just skimming the surface, and you'll protect your focus, not just to get things done, but to embody who you're becoming. You'll stop chasing distractions to dodge boredom. You won't fear quiet moments anymore. You'll welcome them, understanding they're where insights thrive and creativity blossoms. By becoming the architect of your attention, you take ownership of your life in a way that feels empowering and freeing. In Chapter 9, we look at the journey from chaos to clarity. In our modern world, fighting for your attention is also about reclaiming your time. The sound of ticking hasn't changed, but how we experience time has shifted dramatically in this digital age. Time often feels like it's slipping away from us. It's not that the day is shorter, it's our attention that's scattered. With constant notifications, endless feeds, and little distractions, minutes and hours vanish without us even noticing. Many of us experience what we can call time blur. We start the day with good intentions but end up confused, wondering where the time went. That's where dopamine detox comes in. It's all about reclaiming our time, gaining clarity, and reshaping our daily habits. Instead of just reacting to life, we want to shape it intentionally. This chapter focuses on transforming time from a chaotic force into something we can control, something that aligns with our true goals. In today's digital world, there's a sneaky problem called time blindness. This isn't just about being late or missing meetings. It's a growing inability to really feel how time is passing. If we spend hours on dopamine-rich activities, scrolling through social media, binge-watching our favorite shows, or jumping between tabs, we can lose track completely. What starts as a quick 5-minute scroll can turn into an hour where we can't even remember what we did. Unlike tasks that need our focus or bring us some real results, these digital distractions fill our time without leaving any meaningful impact. They create a mental fog, stretching time into something that feels both empty and exhausting. The more time we spend in this zone, the harder it gets to gauge how long things actually take or how we spend our days. We end up overcommitting, thinking we have more time than we do. We procrastinate, believing there's plenty of time left. Then we panic at the day's end, feeling like we've done nothing, even though we were busy for hours. So, how do we start building dopamine discipline? It's about cutting out these false inputs that skew our sense of time. When we stop jumping from video to notification to text, we clear the way for a more intentional relationship with our time. Something interesting starts to happen. We begin to feel time again. A minute feels like a real minute. An hour gives us space to do something meaningful. With this fresh perspective, we start making different choices. We're not just planning for productivity anymore. We're aiming for balance too. We learn to treat our time like a precious resource, not just something we waste without thinking. There's an emotional side to this change. When we can't see time clearly, it often brings guilt, anxiety, and frustration. We feel bad for wasting time, worried about deadlines, and irritated that we can't seem to get in control. But it's important to understand that this isn't a personal failure. It's a flaw in the systems we've let into our lives. Notifications are designed to pull us away, algorithms keep us engaged, and interfaces keep us hooked. Realizing this is the first step to forgiving yourself and moving on. Dopamine detox isn't just about being disciplined, it's about raising awareness. By cutting out distractions that warp our sense of time, we clear our heads. We can trust our sense of time again, reconnecting with the natural flow of a day and building a solid relationship with the ticking clock. Next, we need to redesign our days to support deep work. This isn't just about making a better to-do list or grabbing a new planner. It's a whole rethinking of how we structure our lives. Deep work shouldn't happen in the spare moments. It needs a place in our day. Creating containers for focused work is key. A container is simply a set block of time, a space free from interruptions, distractions, or noise, treated with the same importance as a meeting or a doctor's appointment. By building these containers, you stop leaving essential work to chance. You're saying that focus is vital, not just a nice-to-have. These containers work best when they're a part of a routine. Our brains thrive on habits. When you dive into deep work for the first 2 hours every morning, your mind begins to expect that. You'll approach those hours with less pushback and clearer thought. A dopamine detox speeds this up by removing the competing distractions that usually scatter your focus. Without the lure of quick dopamine fixes, your brain learns to embrace a calmer, more rewarding flow state that deep work brings. Over time, this creates a positive feedback loop. The more you focus, the easier it gets. And as it gets easier, you build trust in your ability to dive in. With that trust comes confidence. That's how top creatives, thinkers, and entrepreneurs create amazing work, not through chaotic multitasking, but through focused efforts in well-structured time blocks. Managing transitions is just as crucial in this redesign. A lot of mental energy gets wasted when we switch from one task to another without clear boundaries or rituals. By setting distinct starts and ends for your deep work sessions, you cut down on mental clutter and save willpower. For example, kick off a focused session with a brisk walk, a breathing exercise, or a familiar song playlist. This retrains your mind to shift gears smoothly. Ending your sessions with a quick reflection or journaling helps wrap things up, creating a sense of progress and closure. These rituals, simple as they might seem, are powerful tools to solidify your new daily rhythm. They remind you that you're not just working. You're engaging in a purposeful practice of focus, presence, and growth. What starts as structured work periods can evolve into a whole new way of living. The ultimate reward of regaining your time through better dopamine habits is discovering a rhythm of intentional living. At this point, focus, clarity, and deep work aren't just about tasks. They infuse every part of your day. You start to eat more mindfully, walk with awareness, and speak with intention. Even your leisure time feels different. You no longer crave mindless entertainment, but seek activities that uplift you. Reading, gardening, enjoying nature, or having slow conversations. These aren't just luxuries anymore. They're essential to a life aligned with your values. Intentional living means you're no longer on autopilot. You're actively choosing your actions, inputs, and outputs. You become proactive instead of reactive. The chaos of your previous days is replaced by purpose. Finding clarity isn't about having everything neatly arranged. It's about creating your own inner compass. This compass helps you steer through the chaos and uncertainty of everyday life, keeping you grounded. You don't have to react to every little notification or jump on every trend just to avoid missing out. You're in tune with your own rhythm, a rhythm that aligns with your goals, values, and peace of mind. Living intentionally brings a deep sense of satisfaction. When your days reflect what really matters, even the mundane becomes significant. Doing dishes, writing a paragraph, or listening to your favorite song turns into a chance to be present, engaged, and alive. Dopamine detox isn't about limiting yourself, it's about opening up. By letting go of those false highs, you create space for true fulfillment. When you clear away the noise of pointless distractions, you discover the richness in everyday life. That's the real reward, reclaiming your time. It's not just about being more productive, it's about living better. You become the pilot of your life, not just a passenger. You're no longer scattered, you're centered. You're not rushing, you're intentional with every step. Now let's talk about rewiring your reward system. For most of us, discipline feels like a burden, a strict framework we force ourselves to stick to, pushing through discomfort for some greater outcome. But what if that view is wrong? What if real discipline springs from rethinking how our brains see reward? Every habit, every choice, and every repeated action is tied to a system of reinforcement. We do what feels good or what we think will feel good. This chapter dives into that reinforcement system, the loop of craving, action, and reward, and shows you how to reshape it. When we mention dopamine detox, we're not just talking about cutting out the noise. We're really focusing on rewiring the circuits that shape our behavior. The goal is to shift so that the things you want to do become the things that feel good to do. That's where the magic unfolds. This is where discipline feels natural and effort turns into desire. Understanding that dopamine feedback loop can transform how we find satisfaction. Afterward, our brain makes a little note, "Hey, this feels good, let's do it again." That note is written in dopamine. It doesn't just give us pleasure, it teaches us what to chase in the future. The more we do something that triggers dopamine, the stronger that connection gets. This is the heart of how learning works in our brains. When we eat a cookie and love it, we don't just savor that moment. We remember the whole experience, the scent of the kitchen, the crinkle of the wrapper, even that quick look at the pantry. All of this becomes a web of connections that nudges us to repeat it. Our brains become experts at spotting chances to relive those moments. But here's the catch. In today's world, Our system isn't broken, it's been taken over. We're surrounded by supercharged distractions, crazy good foods, endless online fun, constant notifications. These false highs drown out the quieter, deeper joys. Activities like reading, completing tasks, or exercising bring long-term satisfaction, but they don't hit us with a quick dopamine rush. Over time, we start to favor the easy, the instant. We lose our patience and struggle to appreciate hard work. That's where a detox becomes key. It's not about suffering, it's about resetting. Imagine walking by your phone without wanting to check it. Picture sitting down to write and feeling curious instead of anxious. Think of exercise as relief, not a chore. This can happen, but we need to take back control of how we respond to rewards. First, we need to break the cycle of instant gratification. That means cutting back on things that give quick dopamine hits without real value, like social media scrolling, binge-watching shows, and mindless snacking. We have to starve those fake signals, but that's just step one. The real magic happens when we start amplifying dopamine in the activities we want to reinforce. After a solid work session, let's reflect and celebrate. Feel that focus. After a workout, enjoy that post-exercise high. By focusing on the rewards already there, we make them more vivid in our minds. The more we notice these moments, the more our brains will remember them. Over time, our cravings start to connect with meaningful work. This isn't something forced. It's a natural part of learning. We can turn those cravings into positive habits. If cravings are just patterns in our brain, we can change them. This process isn't about pushing cravings away, but about redirecting them. A craving is energy. It's our body and mind getting ready for action. But often we channel that energy into the easiest distractions. When we're restless, we grab our phones. When we're stressed, we just scroll aimlessly. But what if we took that restlessness or tension and redirected it towards something that helps us reach our goals? The trick isn't to battle the craving, but to connect it with a different routine. This is where finding a better substitute becomes powerful. We pick a meaningful alternative, something accessible, rewarding, and good for us, and consistently link it to that craving. Over time, our brains shift the craving. The desire to scroll becomes a desire to journal. The urge to snack turns into the urge to go for a walk. The itch for stimulation becomes a moment to breathe, reset, and engage again. Of course, this doesn't change overnight. Our brains need repetition, consistency, and clear signals. That's why habit stacking is so effective. By tying a new behavior to an existing cue, we leverage what's already in place. Imagine your go-to move when you're bored is grabbing your phone. Instead of trying to eliminate that urge completely, you introduce a new action. When you feel that pull, stand up, stretch, and take 3 deep breaths. At first, it might feel small, maybe even silly, but that's where the real change happens. You're teaching your brain, when this feeling comes up, this is what we do. Over weeks and months, this new pattern starts to form. The craving doesn't disappear, it evolves and grows. Essentially, you're turning raw desire into something that lifts you up instead of dragging you down. We often overlook how quickly our brains can adapt. Once we're not bombarded by cheap distractions, some people notice changes in just days after a true dopamine detox. They start to notice the little joys again, the fresh morning air, the satisfaction of completing a task. Silence is like a cozy space rather than an empty gap. These aren't new joys, they're ancient ones that are always there. As our minds quiet down, we start wanting something deeper. The shallow stuff loses its charm, while the meaningful stuff pulls us in. This is the moment when our cravings turn into tools instead of traps. Discipline flows not from willpower, but from a desire that aligns with our values, helping us stay motivated through who we are and how we feel. The last step in reshaping our reward system is grounding it in our identity, not just our actions. The habits that stick aren't just tasks, they reflect who we think we are. If you view yourself as a writer, then writing becomes part of your world, not just something to check off a list. If you see yourself as disciplined, choosing focus over distraction feels natural. Identity is the core of building habits. It's influenced by more than just repetition. It's also about feelings. Each time we tackle a tough task and feel proud or grateful afterward, we dig that sense of identity a little deeper. We don't just recall the task, we remember how we felt doing it. That emotional connection makes the habit stick. That's why reflection is vital in the detox journey. It's not just about avoiding distractions. We need to celebrate our progress. We must strengthen not just our actions, but also our self-image. When motivation comes from who we are, it's about nurturing the bond between ourselves and our actions. This is where journaling, community, and storytelling play a role. When we write about our small victories, we teach our brains who we're becoming. Sharing our journeys with others boosts that feedback loop. By telling a clear story of growth, like, "I used to be distracted, now I'm focused," we reinforce the path of change. Identity unfolds through our actions. Every choice is like a sentence, and each habit forms a paragraph. Over time, the story gets so strong that falling out of sync feels wrong, not because of guilt, but because it doesn't fit who we are anymore. This leads to lasting motivation, steady and rooted in who we are, craving a sense of integrity. There's also an emotional change that comes with this new way of living. Instead of seeking excitement to escape discomfort, we now embrace a different approach. Start seeing challenges as chances to grow. Instead of getting pulled into distractions, let dopamine guide you toward meaningful actions. We learn to hold off on instant rewards, not out of punishment, but because we know the joy that comes from earning them. When we trust ourselves to follow through, that trust brings us peace. Discipline shifts from being about limits to becoming a connection with our best selves. Suddenly, motivation isn't something we chase after. It's something that naturally rises in us, day after day, like our breath. Now, let's talk about mastering mental clarity. In a world that's getting louder, filled with noise, demands, distractions, and constant decisions, finding mental clarity is crucial. It's one of those rare but essential skills for anyone wanting to focus deeply. The digital age throws a flood of distractions our way. Notifications, background worries, unfinished tasks, all of these bits chip away at our mental space, making it tough to concentrate and think straight. This chapter is about tackling that mental mess head-on. It's about restoring order in our minds. Mental clarity isn't about being passive. It's something we grow. It takes conscious effort to detox from the noise we've accepted as normal. While dopamine detox often focuses on cutting out outside triggers, mental clarity goes deeper. It looks at what happens inside us when we unplug. It's about making space, not just quiet, and teaching our minds to come back to the present with purpose. When we clean up mental clutter, we can think clearly. We regain the ability to hold on to a single thought without it breaking apart under pressure. Most importantly, we start to hear the quiet wisdom that's always been there, hidden beneath the chaos. To master mental clarity, we first need to understand what's mucking up our minds. Our modern brains juggle countless unfinished thoughts and unresolved fragments, which we call open loops. Those are all the tasks we know we need to do, like replying to an email, calling someone back, finishing a report, or picking up groceries. When we check in on a friend, our brains feel a rush of urgency. But if we don't handle those tasks, they hang around like open tabs on a computer. We might not think about them all the time, but they still drain our mental power. Then there are the heavier thoughts, stuff like unresolved conflicts, identity struggles, fear of failure, and regret. These issues don't just clutter our minds. They change how we see our current situation and our future. When our minds are filled with unseen stress, we often confuse the noise for reality. We make hasty choices and distract ourselves, not because we're lazy, but because we feel overwhelmed. Finding clarity starts with spotting these sources of inner chaos. The aim isn't to judge ourselves, but to become aware. Another big reason for mental clutter is the flood of information we take in. We've come to expect that we should digest tons of snippets every day. Headlines, tweets, texts, videos, posts. But our brains aren't built to handle that much at once without consequences. Information overload isn't just about data. It's also about the decisions each piece brings. Every bit of content sparks tiny reactions, comparisons, and doubts. Even if these thoughts are brief, they pile up fast. If we never give our minds a break from this constant consumption, we deny them the chance to process and make sense of what they already know. Detoxing mental clutter means we need to cut back, slow down the flow, and set boundaries for our focus. When we become protectors of what enters our minds, we start to see which thoughts truly belong to us and which are just echoes from the outside world. Once we grasp what fills our minds, the next step is to clear some space intentionally. Achieving mental clarity is both an art and a practice. It takes tools and routines to help us sift through the noise and ground ourselves in the here and now. One of the best tools, a brain dump. It's about pouring out everything weighing on your mind, no filtering, just onto paper or a digital note. The goal isn't to organize right away, but to unload. When we get those thoughts out of our heads and into a tangible form, our brains feel lighter. The relief can be instant. Suddenly, we realize we don't have to keep track of everything all at once. First, we need to relax. This is the starting point for gaining clarity. But just relaxing isn't enough. We also have to center ourselves. Centering the mind means training it to find stillness and focus, even when things get distracting. Meditation is the best way to do this. Many see it as a spiritual practice, but it's really a workout for our attention, like a gym for the mind. When we sit in silence, focus on our breath, and watch our thoughts without chasing after them, we build the mental strength we truly need in a noisy world. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day of focused breathing can help clear away the fog that clouds our thinking. The goal isn't to stop our thoughts, but to change how we relate to them. When we can observe a thought without getting pulled into it, we take back control. There are also physical ways to boost mental clarity. Movement helps too. It isn't just good for our bodies, it resets our brains. A brisk, quiet walk without music or distractions can be more effective than spending an hour trying to solve a problem. Moving helps integrate our thoughts and lets our subconscious reveal insights without any pressure. Sleep is important as well. When we don't get enough rest, it clouds our memory, makes it harder to focus, and throws off our emotions. When we're tired, everything feels like a bigger burden, including our thoughts. Detoxing our minds isn't just about specific practices, it's about our lifestyle. Prioritizing sleep, getting regular movement, cutting back on caffeine after a certain point, and carving out time for silence aren't just perks. They're necessary for maintaining a clear mind in a chaotic world. We also need to create an environment that promotes deep work, just like we tidy up our physical spaces for productivity. Think a clean desk or a quiet room with a closed door. We should design our mental spaces to support focused work too. This means curating both the emotional and cognitive context for focus. The key part of this mental setup is being clear about our intentions. When we start a task without knowing exactly what we want to achieve, our brains fill that gap with doubt, procrastination, or distractions. Before diving into deep work, we should ask ourselves, what am I trying to accomplish during this time? What does success look like? This helps activate the part of our brain responsible for goal-directed behavior and gives our minds something to aim for. Creating a sense of psychological safety starts from within. It means kicking that inner critic to the curb. Many people struggle with deep work, not because they're distracted by outside noise, but because they're haunted by fear of failure, judgment, or not measuring up. Those nagging thoughts creep in, whispering things like, "What if it's not good enough?" Or, "Who do you think you are?" But those thoughts don't belong in your creative space. They belong in a therapist's office or on a journal page. When we want mental clarity, we need to remind ourselves, now is not the time to judge. It's time to act. I can evaluate later, but for now, I just create. To sharpen our focus, we should also close any distracting loops before starting our work. Picture this. You sit down to write, but you can't shake off that nagging memory of an important email you haven't sent. That email becomes background noise. A great habit is to take 5 minutes to wrap up loose ends before diving in. It's not about getting everything done, but just noting things in a reliable place, so your mind knows it's okay to let go for now. Mental clarity blooms when your mind trusts it can come back to those thoughts later. This trust is what builds your focus. Next, think about the emotional side of deep work, too. Start each session with emotional alignment, not just a to-do list. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel while I work? Curious, empowered, grounded? Then create a tiny ritual to evoke that feeling, whether it's listening to a song, taking a deep breath, or visualizing your goals. Anchor your emotions, not just your tasks. When your feelings and thoughts are in sync, clarity flows naturally. Your mind reaches a state of flow, not through pressure, but through an inviting atmosphere. It feels safe, clear, and ready to dive deep. Now, moving on to boredom. In a world overflowing with digital stimuli, boredom feels almost alien to us. It's often seen as wasteful, unproductive, or just plain idle. We've been conditioned to shun boredom and fill every moment with noise or a new task. But here's the truth. Boredom isn't something to fear. It's a rich soil for creativity, reflection, and self-awareness. In this chapter, we'll dive into why embracing boredom and rest is essential for your journey of detoxing from dopamine. Sitting with discomfort is key to stepping back from the endless stream of distractions. When we do this, we tap into our mind's natural power to reset. We regain clarity and focus. Boredom isn't a nemesis, it's a teacher. In those moments without outside noise, we discover our deepest creativity and sense of purpose. When we confront the uncomfortable void of boredom, We give our minds a chance to clear the clutter, our bodies a chance to rest, and our spirits a chance to recalibrate. It's in this stillness that we can realize our true potential. At first, boredom might look like a problem, a sign we're not engaged enough or not achieving our goals. It gets labeled as a negative feeling that creeps in when we're not entertained. But recent brain research shows boredom is a natural and crucial state for our long-term health and creativity. Our brains crave novelty, and when it's missing, we feel empty, wanting something to fill that gap. But this emptiness isn't just nothing, it holds potential. Allowing ourselves to be bored gives our minds room to wander, to daydream, and to explore new ideas. That's where creative insights begin. Studies indicate that when we step back from tasks and let our minds rest, the brain enters a unique, restful state that boosts creativity and problem-solving. This state, the default mode network, kicks in when we're not focused on specific tasks. By breaking free from constant stimulation and leaning into boredom, we activate this network. Our brains start processing information in fresh ways and connecting dots we never noticed before. So, boredom isn't wasting time. It's a crucial step toward creativity. The more we embrace it, the more we give ourselves the space to generate new ideas and solutions that fuel our meaningful work. Embracing boredom isn't just about pushing through a little discomfort. It's about unlocking our mind's natural talent for creating, innovating, and solving problems. And let's face it, breaking our addiction to constant entertainment is key. For many of us, the thought of doing nothing can feel uncomfortable or even scary. We live in a world that values being busy, where productivity seems to define success. We've been taught to think that if we're not always on the go, we're somehow falling behind. There's a common myth that rest is the enemy of progress, and that working nonstop is the only way to achieve great things. This idea creeps into our daily lives, from how we plan our schedules to how we see our worth. But here's the truth. Chasing constant productivity isn't realistic. In fact, it can backfire on us. Always feeling like we need to do something, checking our phones, replying to emails, running errands, just adds to stress and exhaustion, leading straight to burnout. On the flip side, rest is an essential tool. It helps recharge our bodies and minds. Without rest, we can't keep our energy, focus, and creativity going over time. Rest lets us step back, to drop the pressure to perform, and to reset. Yet, the fear of idleness keeps many people from fully soaking it in. We feel guilty for taking breaks or just sitting with our thoughts. We worry that if we pause, we'll lose momentum, fall behind, or miss out. But that fear is based on a misconception. The reality, rest supports productivity. It's not a barrier to it. Without rest, we can't function at our best. Our brains need downtime to sort through information, solidify memories, and build new connections. It's during those moments of silence and stillness that we let our minds recharge. When we return to work afterward, we do so with renewed focus, clarity, and creativity. So, we've got to shake off this need to always be productive and embrace idleness as a vital part of deep work. Rest and recovery aren't luxuries. They're necessities if we want to achieve sustainable, focused work. Yes, it's tempting to think that more work equals more accomplishments, but that way of thinking can't sustain us in the long run. Deep work needs our full focus and energy, and that comes from embracing the power of rest. Creativity thrives on proper rest and recovery. Think of deep work not as a sprint, but as a marathon. To perform at our best, we need to give our bodies and minds the downtime they deserve. This means resting physically, but also mentally and emotionally. Mental fatigue is just as real as being physically tired, and you can only shake it off with breaks and some relaxation. One of the best ways to ensure we're well rested is by taking regular breaks. It could be as simple as a quick walk every hour, practicing mindfulness, meditating, or diving into a hobby that makes us happy. These little pauses help us recharge. Then, when we jump back into work, we do it with fresh energy and focus. Besides taking breaks, sleep is a huge part of recovery. It's our body's natural way to heal, and it's essential for how our brain works, for memory, and even for managing our emotions. Without enough sleep, we struggle to think clearly and make decisions. Sleep isn't just about logging hours. It's about creating an environment that promotes deep, restorative rest. That means cutting down on distractions, limiting screen time before bed, and keeping a steady sleep routine. Another important piece is mental recovery. We need to give ourselves a break from work and engage in activities that help our minds unwind, whether it's reading, enjoying nature, or just sitting quietly to reflect. It's crucial to let go of any guilt about resting. It's part of the deep work process. Just like our bodies need sleep, our minds need rest to stay clear, creative, and focused. Rest and recovery aren't just about slowing things down. They give us room to grow, to think, and to return to our tasks with more purpose and energy. By making rest a key part of our deep work journey, we can keep our focus, creativity, and productivity going for the long haul. Today we're drowning in emails and bombarded with tons of information every day. It's like our attention gets splintered all the time. We're so used to juggling many things at once that we often forget what it really means to dive deeply into one task for a longer stretch. But here's the thing. True human potential shines when we focus deeply. In this chapter, we'll talk about the big shift that happens when we focus intentionally. We'll explore deep work and how you can take back your focus to hit your peak performance. Deep work isn't just about grinding away. It's about working with purpose and clarity. It's about pushing aside distractions, figuring out what really matters, and fully diving into what you're doing. When we enter deep work, we're not just checking things off a list. We're unlocking our brain's full power. That's what separates the remarkable from the average and helps us grow in our personal and professional lives. But here's the catch. We live in a world that constantly tries to pull our focus apart. With social media, endless notifications, and pressure to get more done in less time, finding that deep focus can feel almost impossible. The bright side, you can learn to focus better. It's a skill you can develop. With the right strategies, we can train our minds to concentrate more deeply, for longer, and with clear intent. This chapter will give you the tools and insights to sharpen your attention, embrace deep work, and achieve amazing things in a world full of distractions. At the core of deep work is attention. Attention is what lets us experience everything and take action. The quality of our attention shapes the quality of our work, our relationships, and our lives. But attention isn't unlimited. It can run low, especially with all the distractions around us. That's why understanding how attention works is critical for building the ability to focus deeply. Research tells us that our brains have a limited capacity for attention. We struggle to focus when distractions surround us. Whether it's our phones buzzing, noise in the background, or our own racing thoughts and anxiety, our attention gets scattered. The more we juggle different tasks, the less brain power we have for each one. That's why multitasking might seem appealing, but it's not effective. Studies show that it actually slows us down and lowers the quality of our work. Our brains just can't handle two complicated tasks at once. When we try to multitask, we're really just hopping back and forth, which tires us out and hurts our overall performance. On the flip side, when we focus on just one task, we unlock our brain's potential for deep concentration. This lets us work at our best, reaching that flow state where time feels like it slips away and we're fully engaged. But getting to that point takes some effort. We need to block out distractions, resist checking our phones, and really commit to what we're doing right now. The more we practice this focused attention, the better we get at concentrating, and we end up getting more done in less time. So, how do we build this ability for deep work? First off, we need to create the right environment. That means finding a specific time and place to work where interruptions from emails, calls, and social media are out of the picture. The less outside noise we have, the easier it is to dive into deep concentration. But it's not just about the outside distractions. We also have to tackle the internal ones, the nagging thoughts and worries that take us away from our tasks. One great way to do this is through mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness meditation, we can train ourselves to be more aware of our thoughts and feelings. This helps us notice when our minds wander and gently brings us back to the present. Mindfulness isn't just about chilling out. It's about training your brain to focus clearly and accurately. Another important part of deep work is setting clear, specific goals for each session. When you know exactly what you want to accomplish, it's easier to stay on task and not get tempted to check your phone or get sidetracked by other stuff. By breaking larger projects into smaller, manageable tasks, you create a roadmap that keeps you moving forward. This method also helps lessen that overwhelming feeling that often hits when you're staring down a big project. Focusing on one tiny task at a time builds momentum and helps you progress toward your bigger goals. Learning to do deep work isn't something you can conquer overnight. It takes time, patience, and steady effort. But as you keep practicing, you'll notice your focus sharpens and your ability to produce quality work improves. The key is sticking with it even when it gets tough. By diving into deep work, you're on your way to reaching your full potential in both your personal and professional life. Now, let's talk about distractions. In today's noisy world, staying focused on deep work is a real challenge. We're constantly tempted, whether it's scrolling through social media, that alert from a new email, or the pressure of looming deadlines. Distractions are everywhere. While it can feel impossible to eliminate them completely, there are strategies to keep them in check and maintain your focus. First, identify what distracts you in your environment and take steps to cut them down or eliminate them altogether. This could mean switching off notifications on your phone, closing extra browser tabs, or using apps that block distracting sites during your work time. It's also important to create a physical workspace that supports deep work, somewhere organized and quiet, free from clutter and noise. When you set up a space dedicated just to concentration, you tell your brain it's time to focus, not zone out. And don't forget about those internal distractions too. When you're deep in work, it's common to have that mental chatter stealing your focus. One way to manage these distractions is with the 2-minute rule. If you catch yourself straying, maybe wanting to check your email or feeling anxious, give yourself just 2 minutes to think about it. Set a timer, dive into that thought for a moment, and then, when the timer goes off, jump back into your work. This method can help weaken the hold distractions have on you while also letting you acknowledge and release them. Another helpful technique is the Pomodoro method. This is all about working in bursts of 25 minutes followed by quick breaks. It's a great way to keep your energy up and avoid burnout. By allowing these short, focused intervals, you can build up your concentration over time, giving your brain some downtime during those breaks. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. Deep work is tough, and your mind will drift now and then. Instead of getting frustrated when that happens, just notice it and gently steer your attention back to what you need to do. The more you practice this, the easier focus will come. Now, let's talk about mastery through consistency. Achieving real results isn't a one-time event. It's a process. It's a journey that calls for steady consistency, patience, and dedication. In the world of deep work and dopamine detox, true transformation doesn't come from big, sudden changes. It's about committing to small steps over time. That's how you move from just dabbling in improvement to making a real, lasting change. Creating a life filled with deep work, where you find focus, creativity, and clarity, comes not from sporadic bursts of effort, but through daily disciplined practice. In this final chapter, we'll dive into the power of consistency and uncover practical strategies to make deep work a regular part of your life. To achieve amazing results while keeping your well-being intact, remember this: mastering any pursuit, be it art, career, or personal growth, isn't solely about working harder or smarter. It's about showing up consistently, day after day. It's about embracing the journey of growth. Real progress happens in small, intentional steps over big, dramatic jumps. When you make consistency your main focus, you'll find that the benefits of deep work are not just lasting, but they stack over time, turning into something much greater than the individual parts. The tough part is making this change stick. It's about taking what you learned from your dopamine detox and weaving it into your daily life so that it becomes a core part of who you are. This final chapter will steer you towards creating lasting changes. You'll face obstacles, that's for sure, but we'll turn deep work into a routine that's not just about productivity, it's fulfilling too. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to chase quick fixes and expect instant results, but we often miss the magic of small, steady actions. We tend to look for shortcuts, but the reality is that true. Lasting change comes from consistently taking little, purposeful steps over time. That's the compound effect. For deep work, it means showing up each day, even when you're not in the mood, and choosing to focus on what matters most. It's about committing to the journey, not just the finish line, and believing that each small action is moving you closer to your bigger goals. Plus, when you stick to these small, consistent actions, you build momentum. This momentum creates a positive loop. Each tiny success boosts your confidence in your ability to achieve more. That's vital for forming a deep work habit. The more you practice concentrated work, the easier it becomes to get into that state of deep focus. Over time, what once felt like a struggle transforms into a smooth rhythm. It doesn't happen in a day. It takes real commitment and a willingness to push through doubt and frustration. But as you keep showing up day after day and dive into your work, you'll start to see the compound effect kicking in. The results will speak for themselves, not just in what you produce, but in how focused, creative, and well you feel overall. The secret? Be patient with the journey. Trust that every little effort brings you closer to mastering your craft. Sticking to it doesn't mean being perfect. It's all about persistence. By embracing the power of small actions stacked on each other, you'll witness incredible changes. These gradual steps build up over time and can turn deep work into a regular part of your life. The magic of rituals and routines is key. Consistency in deep work isn't just about those occasional bursts of effort. It's about establishing rituals that make deep work feel natural in your daily routine. Habits and routines are what support you in taking consistent action. When deep work becomes a must-have in your schedule, it blends into your day, regardless of what's happening around you. Creating a ritual for deep work helps set a predictable structure that tunes your mind for focus. Start by choosing a specific time and place for your work, maybe the first hour of your day or a few quiet hours at night when you're less likely to be disturbed. By making deep work a no-exceptions part of your routine, you signal to your brain that it's time to concentrate. But more than just timing, it's the rituals that really make the difference. These rituals are little, intentional actions that kick off your deep work. Think about a pre-work routine, like brewing a cup of tea, meditating for a few minutes, or checking your goals for the day. These actions act as signals, telling your brain it's time to switch gears into deep work mode. As you practice these rituals, they become part of your routine, making it easier to get into a deep focus without hesitation. Another important step in building this deep work habit is to set clear, achievable goals. The more specific your goals are, the better you can aim to reach them. The clearer your goals are, the easier it is to stay motivated and focused. So, break down big projects into smaller, doable tasks. Celebrate those little victories along the way. When you track your progress, you feel accomplished. That helps build the habit and creates momentum. But the key to making deep work a real habit is consistency. Sure, it's easy to dive into deep work for a day, a week, or even a month. But making it stick for the long haul, that's the real challenge. You have to show up every day, even when it's tough or when you'd rather do something else. The more you practice deep work, the easier it gets. Eventually, focusing becomes second nature. You'll notice heightened creativity, increased productivity, and a deeper sense of fulfillment woven into your daily life. By turning deep work into a habit, you create a sustainable practice that drives you toward your greatest potential. But beware, the path to mastery isn't a smooth ride. It's full of bumps, distractions, and doubts. There will be days when you struggle to focus, distractions seem overwhelming, or you just want to throw in the towel. These moments will happen, but they don't define your journey. What matters is how you respond. Resilience is the secret ingredient that helps you stay consistent despite challenges. When setbacks pop up, try to view them as chances to grow, not signs that you failed. Embrace the ups and downs of life and stay committed to your goal. A powerful way to build resilience is through self-compassion. Instead of being hard on yourself when things don't go right, show yourself some kindness. Understand that setbacks are part of the process. Each failure is a chance to learn and get better. Another important piece is keeping your why in mind. What drives you to engage in deep work? When you're clear about your purpose, it's easier to stay motivated and push through tough times. Whether you want to create something meaningful, build relationships, or achieve professional success, reminding yourself of your why can make all the difference. Working helps keep you grounded and focused. It's also essential to celebrate your progress, even if it seems tiny. Every little step forward, every moment you concentrate, and every breakthrough is a win that deserves recognition. When you celebrate these achievements, you create momentum and strengthen your deep work habit. The road to real change can be tough, but by building resilience, staying in touch with your purpose, and acknowledging your progress, you can get through any setback and keep moving toward mastery.